The scale of the destruction is almost unimaginable. Towns and villages destroyed. Lives destroyed.
This is the home of the Alwani family, where 7 people, the father, the mother, and 5 sons were killed. People are saying that the number of those injured is very high, and they are mostly children. And we ended up being killed and injured in the very place they went to look for safety.
Syria. The conflict has led around 4 million people to flee their homes. More than 1.4 million more have left the country altogether and are now mainly in neighbouring countries, many in refugee camps.
The war was happening in front of us. It wasn't good anymore. So we came here, with war happening on top of our heads. We hope it'll be better for us here. The most important thing is to be safe. We don't need much more.
And they are not alone. Around the world, millions of the most vulnerable are being failed by their governments and the international community.
Syria is, of course, in the media at the moment, but it's not the only place where refugees are coming from. There are about 15 million refugees in the world. Some of them come from Somalia, they come from Afghanistan, there are Palestinian refugees and Rohingya refugees, and all of them live in very difficult circumstances and do not know when they will be able to go home.
Mali, and in fighting for control of the north of the country, hundreds have died, thousands have fled. Wherever there's conflict and people forced to flee for safety, women and girls seem to be at greatest risk. Rape and sexual violence are a real threat.
They threaten me with a gun. If you don't give them your money, they kill you. If you wouldn't give them what they want, they would also rape you.
The paradox is that it's harder for the refugees to cross borders than it is for the guns that fuel the violence and insecurity. But 2 months ago in New York, 20 years of public pressure on the world's governments finally led to the adoption of an arms trade treaty that aims to stop shipments of weapons where they may be used for human rights violations.
7/L58 is adopted.
We have a lot of hopes for the Arms Trade Treaty. We think that it really will stop the irresponsible flow of arms to those who use it to commit atrocities. But we need to remember, people cross borders for many reasons, not just to escape violence. Sometimes they're trying to escape poverty. And what we see are migrants crossing borders, sometimes with papers, sometimes without, and once they do that, being stripped of their rights and exploited.
Plenty of countries want cheap labour, but don't seem prepared to recognise that every migrant worker has rights. A labourer is also a human being. He also has his own way of living. He's not some animal who can be imprisoned and suppressed in order to extract work. The economic exodus means that tens of millions of people are on the move from country to country. Europe is investing millions of euros in protecting its borders. The side effect is those trying to enter are often detained, discriminated against, and denied their fundamental human rights. When it comes to policing borders and dealing with migrants, there are governments claiming they have the right to act as they see fit in the interests of their people, but they forget that human rights are fundamental and non-negotiable.
The world is becoming an increasingly dangerous place for refugees, migrants, displaced people in general. So the international community, political leaders, have to accept shared responsibility to protect the rights of these millions of people who are displaced and pushed out of their homes.